Hello everybody, and welcome to LogPoint series of webinars with our partners in Europe. Today we will be discussing enhancing Cisco security with SIEM, and this will be run by ourselves, LogPoint, and our partners in Denmark, Level 8, who specialize in Cisco and SIEM consulting services. This webinar will be recorded, so therefore you will be able to get the webinar after this section, and it will also be available on YouTube should you want to download it in your own time. To tell you a little bit about the agenda today, we'll start off by telling you a little bit about who LogPoint is, who we are and what we do. We'll follow by who Level 8 is, who they are and what they do, what LogPoint in very general terms of the technology and platform, as well as how we aid in terms of security, operations and compliance. We'll further go on to discuss Cisco and LogPoint, how LogPoint can enhance the Cisco platform, Cisco ASA and firewalls, Cisco Unified Wireless, Cisco ISE, and how to get started with LogPoint. We'll have a summary, and then there will be room for Q&A. My name is Carlyle, and I'm the country manager from Denmark. Should you want to contact me, my email address is sri.carlyle@logpoint.com if you have any further questions. Just to tell you a little bit about LogPoint. LogPoint is a security information event management platform. We have been around since 2008, and we have offices mainly in Europe, with our headquarters in Copenhagen, Denmark, also in Paris and London, and in Munich, and finally also in Stockholm. We have the latest release of LogPoint is version 5.2, and we will be coming out with a new release here, version 5.3, just before the summer. What is LogPoint? LogPoint is a big data NoSQL platform that allows you to pull all logs from your IT infrastructure and show these logs in a simple, centralized, and user-friendly manner via the many dashboards that we create. And this allows you to monitor, create alerts, analyze, and create reports from all your data and incidents within the organizations. LogPoint also allows you to see if you are compliant or not compliant at any given moment. And this allows you to ensure whether you adhere to regulations and standards such as the ISO 27701, in England, the GPG 13, and SOX, among others. Aside from enabling out-of-the-box compliance reports in a simple manner, LogPoint also aids in simplifying the many operational tasks that are associated with an organization, many systems and platforms centrally. So therefore, we, as a platform, can collect all logs, whether it's located in the network, whether it's located in devices, or within the organization, and normalize these logs where we provide a set of normalization rules for most common devices. We see, in general terms, enterprise without a SIEM solution is basically a community without law enforcement, as A SIEM platform actually allows you to protect your business assets. We see most of our organizations out there having a higher and higher requirement for protecting their intellectual property rights, among other things, protecting sensitive data within the organization that should not be vulnerable or susceptible to hackers. We also see that a SIEM solution enables you, like I've said before, creates an overview of your entire IT infrastructure and enables you to discover through correlations, amongst others, abnormal behavior. We see SIEM within the enterprise as typically not just being taken from an IT security perspective, but more and more we are seeing organizations having requirements from the business side as well to be able to present all of this data and log that is available within the organization. And therefore, SIEM as such can be seen as a business intelligence platform for IT security. Just the same as it is if you'd have a SAP or a CRM system in place within your organization. Some of the drivers that we've seen on the market, one of the main ones is especially for public sector, but also becoming more and more viable for the private sector, is the EU Data Protection Directive, which should be launched within this summer 2015. Where we see here is that individuals' personal data cannot be leaked by corporations or organizations, and the way that typically an organization sees whether sensitive data is misused is by doing this in a manual process. And this is typically done through random sample testing, which does not really provide a total picture or overview of the vulnerabilities that you have within your system. It also is very resource intensive and not automated in an efficient way. And therefore, this is one of the aspects where a SIEM solution can aid with this regulation. From another perspective, SIEM solutions also help from operational nature, where LogPoint can provide a common language across the entire IT infrastructure, enabling you to see and monitor what is actually going on within your IT infrastructure, from carrying out forensics to general monitoring to bottlenecks within the system. Finally, also a very large part of the SIEM drivers that we see on the market is compliance, especially ISO compliance and reports that we can deliver upon request. Typically, we see these ISO compliance reports are carried out within a manual process, which does not allow for real-time data to be used. And these are among the many drivers that we see organizations requesting, or why they should request an actual SIEM solution, as LogPoint provides many compliance reports out of the box. That's a general overview of what LogPoint can do. We'll go a little bit more into detail and show you now specific use cases, especially in terms of how if you have a Cisco servers and platforms out there, how LogPoint can actually enhance these environments. And this will be taken over by Morten Olsson, who is Head of Marketing from Level 8.
All right. Thank you, Sri. As Friis just said, I'll be taking it from here. My name is Morten Olsson. I am Head of Marketing for Level 8. Just a couple of words about who we are at Level 8. We are an IT security consultancy company who was established in 2008. Our business areas include networking, network security, and wireless networks, with a big emphasis on network security. The key technologies that we work with include Cisco, Checkpoint, and Citrix, specifically the Citrix networking products, including Citrix NetScaler. Other technologies that we work with include Landcope StealthWatch, AlgoSec for firewall rule management, and ClearSwift secure email and secure web gateways. We have a large array of experience from the largest and most complex networks in Denmark. Some of our customers include the largest private and government organizations in our country. For national security reasons, we cannot divulge who they are, but rest assured that they are some of the largest government network and network security installations in Denmark. Let me talk first a little bit about logging and how logging supports the operational aspects of your network infrastructure. First of all, we get questions and we get requests from many of our customers who ask, well, how much should we be logging, and how much attention should we be paying to our syslogs? And the easy answer to that question is that we recommend that you log everything. The reason for that being that without historical access to your syslogs, you don't have the ability to go back in time and see what happened at any given time. And this can be necessary because most network security attacks go unnoticed for weeks and even months after they actually happen. Very famous example of this is the security breach that happened at the US retailer Target, where they were actually attacked months before that they noticed the attacks. They didn't even notice it themselves. They were made aware of the attacks from outsiders. So what does this teach you? Well, it teaches you that you never know when you might need your logs. You never know when you might need the ability to go back in time and see what actually happened on the firewall, what happened on the network at this point in time. You might ask then, well, don't these logs take up a lot of storage space? Well, answer is yes, they do. But older logs can be stored on slower and less expensive media, so that, for instance, you have your newest logs, those that are less than a month old, on very fast media like SSDs, and then as the logs get older, you can move them to slower and less expensive media. The second thing that we want to recommend is that if you invest in a SIEM solution, that you take the time that it does take to set up your searches, set up your reports, because SIEM's strength lies in its ability to correlate log data between devices. So let's say, for instance, that you have a firewall. Logs from the firewall can show you which connections from which interfaces on which IP addresses are either allowed or denied. But you might not be able to, from just an IP address, to identify, well, which user generated this connection. So you might want to correlate the data from your firewall with log data from your AD to see, well, this IP address at this time corresponded to this particular user. So, as I said, the strength here lies in the SIEM ability to correlate log data. reporting from a SIEM solution is more than just the annual or biannual security audit. You can actually use these reports to have a weekly or maybe monthly report on what goes on, security-related events on your network. So this allows you to be proactive instead of reactive in terms of your network security. So this translates into you being able to think of SIEM as your go-to guide for security events. If you log, these logs will be available. And as I said, once your dashboard is set up, you have the necessary daily overview. You can check it once or twice a day, and you can pull the weekly or monthly reports. And then it doesn't really have to pull any large amount of resources from your daily IT management. And of course, if those daily lookups or if your weekly or monthly reports identify anything that you need to look further into, you can use your searches that you have already set up to further drill down into what really happened using logs from perhaps other devices or other parts of the network. So today's seminar is about Cisco and how you can enhance your Cisco infrastructure with a SIEM solution. We're going to look at three things, or rather three areas of Cisco networking, namely the Cisco ASA firewalls. Going to be looking at Cisco Unified Wireless and Cisco Identity Services Engine. Now, for the Cisco Adaptive Security Appliances, Level 8 has actually developed full LogPoint support. We have normalized the logs from these firewalls, and we've identified key components and key structures that you can be looking for in your firewall logs. Of course, Cisco has recently released a large update to their adaptive security appliances, namely the Firepower services, and we expect to have full support for Cisco Firepower coming in the later part of 2015. Now, for Cisco Unified Wireless, we have full LogPoint support, which is also developed by Level 8, and for the Cisco Identity Services Engine, expect full LogPoint support later in 2015. We have some things ready that we displayed at the Cisco Connect convention in Denmark in the beginning of May, but the support that we are developing is rather extensive, and we won't have the full results or the full product ready to show until later this year. Now, why should I even bother with LogPoint or SIEM in relation to my Cisco environment, you might ask? I already have my Cisco management tools. Don't they offer what I want? Well, the answer is only partly, because the Cisco management tools are typically point-in-time tools. They give you the overview, but they give it only for a short time span, typically 24 hours. With LogPoint, you can get this visibility and this overview from any time period. Let's say you need it for some time period that was 2 months ago. Well, if you have your logs, which we recommend that you do, then you can just go back and make your searches and find what you want for any time period, be it 2 months ago or 3 months or 4 months ago or whatever. The only constraint here that you need to be aware of course, is amount of storage that is dedicated to LogPoint. But as we already said, your older logs can typically be stored on slower and less expensive media. So let's take a look at the Cisco ASA firewalls. We've identified a few key components that we recommend that you look at from time to time. The first is, which countries are your network communicating with? You can do this because LogPoint supports GUIP. Therefore, it's possible to conduct searches that will tell you from which countries traffic is sent to the specified IP addresses and ports. Now, let's say you only expect VPN traffic from your country of origin. Then you might consider shutting down traffic from all other countries. Also, maybe you have traffic to your web server, and you might want to see what types of traffic do I get and from which countries that my tracking cookies don't show me. So these are just two examples of key components, key controls that you can be looking at. You might also want to think about looking at denied source addresses. So which addresses or addresses from which geolocations actually trigger your firewall to deny connections the most? Maybe you want to set up more specific searches that will result in a table showing you all IP addresses and how many times connections from those addresses have been denied. And you can turn that around, of course, and make searches for allowed connections. And this way maybe review if your firewall rules are as you wish them to be. So another thing that we recommend looking at is denied destination addresses. If you have many denied connections to a certain IP address, you can make further searches to see if the denied connection comes from a single IP address or from many different IP addresses. And this way, maybe you can determine if an attack is trying to get through your firewall. Or maybe it is that just your firewall's rules are poorly aligned with the port needs of the specific server. Believe me when I say that it's not always the case that server administrators talk to network administrators when they set up new services. So of course, if the firewall is denying connections to a valid service, you can discover it this way too. Maybe you can also see that you have some unnecessary services running on the server, so that you can shut these down and gain network and performance optimization. The last thing that I want to mention for the Cisco firewalls is the special Cisco events that are being logged by the firewall. Cisco have defined a large number of events that show up in the log, and some of these events can be quite important, especially if you have a large occurrence of these events. It might indicate attempted footprinting or port scanning on your network. And of course, if these persists, you can consider shutting down or denying connections from those IP addresses. But you might also want to consider contacting the remote host administrator and see if you can get the traffic shut down that way. So we've set up a LogPoint dashboards with the relevant controls that we recommend searching for and that we recommend doing reports on from your Cisco firewall. Apologize for the rather conservative color scheme. LogPoint supports more elaborate color schemes than this one, but this one we've kept in a rather neutral blue color. These controls are the ones that I have mentioned during the last 2 or 3 minutes. So, leaving the Cisco firewalls, we'll move on to the Cisco Unified Wireless Technology. And let me start by a bit of background information that is quite important regarding your wireless infrastructure. So what we see is that nowadays the supported network speeds on your wireless LAN is reaching into multiple gigabytes per second with the 802.11ac. The technology supports very, very fast speeds on your wireless infrastructure. We also see that more and more devices ship these days without Ethernet ports. They are, in other words, not intended to plug into your network with a cable. Rather, they are only intended for wireless use. This tendency is only going to increase in the coming years, but already now I have colleagues that only have wireless devices. Even their workstations have shipped without Ethernet ports. So what does this mean? Well, it means that your wireless network is actually evolving now into more than just an alternative to your cabled LAN. And this, of course, has quite important ramifications on your network security, because what does this translate into? Well, it means that the likelihood of your wireless infrastructure being used as the vector for an attack on your network is increasing. So years ago, we saw that most attacks were actually coming not through your wireless network, but this is changing, and it's definitely going to be more and more in the coming years. So what then should you configure your SIEM solution to show you? Well, the first thing that we have pulled out here is client quarantine and wireless IPS. This is because some badly configured wireless clients can send a very high amount of authorization requests in a very short time period. This, of course, results in the client being quarantined by your wireless intrusion protection systems, as they should be. But the same behavior can actually be seen if a hacker sends a lot of deauthorizations to your infrastructure. They can do that because they want to try to lure connected clients to his rogue network. The hacker may have set up a network using your SSID names in your area, and if he can make your clients, the clients on your network, de-authenticate from your network and then connect to his network instead, you might have an attack. Well, what can you set up your SIEM solution to show you then? Well, have LogPoint show you the number of de-authentications. If this number gets unusually high, you might be under attack. Clean air is another thing that we recommend that you set up your SIEM solution to show you. Cisco Clean Air is a dedicated spectrum analysis chip that can detect if your wireless LAN's layer 1 is experiencing problems. It can also react to these problems by adjusting your wireless radio environment. And, well, let's do networking 101. What is layer 1? Layer 1 is the physical part of your network. If this malfunctions, your network is definitely down. These reactions from the Clean Air chip in the Cisco Unified Wireless are caused, or can be caused, by wireless noise sources such as microwaves, for instance. However, they can also be Wi-Fi jammers, which of course is another indication that you can be under attack. So configure your SIEM solution to show you Cisco Clean Air reactions. If you have many of these, this may indicate that your wireless infrastructure is under attack. So a third control that we do recommend setting up your SIEM solution to show you is rogue network detection and containment. As I said before, rogue wireless networks are wireless networks that are seen by your network but aren't really under your control. And these can be perfectly innocuous. They can be, just the neighbor, the next door neighbor that also has a wireless network, which also broadcasts SSIDs. And of course, these networks can be seen by your wireless infrastructure, but they're not under your control. Well, there can also be hackers trying to lure clients onto their network by masking under your SSID names. And the challenge, of course, here is to determine if these rogue networks are a threat or they aren't. So always have LogPoint show rogue networks using your SSID names. These are always bad. And also have LogPoint or your SIEM solutions show you rogue networks that are being contained by your wireless LAN controller, because your wireless LAN controller only does this if it perceives the rogue network to be a threat. So leaving the wireless infrastructure, we're moving on to the Cisco Identity Services engine. Now, first of all, a bit of an overview. What is Cisco ISE? Well, ISE is Cisco's solution to network access control. ISE gives you granular control over which devices access your network on wireless and wired networks. It lets you define network policies that align with your desired security posture, and it lets you bring your own device on the network in a secure manner. So, given this, you can leverage Cisco ISE with your AD to give you finely detailed insight into user and device behavior. Now, as I said at the beginning of this webcast, we are not quite ready with full Cisco ISE support for LogPoint. We did show a few things on Cisco Connect in the beginning of May, but just to talk a bit about what our visions for the LogPoint support for Cisco ISE include, what we see is LogPoint being an excellent system in which to drill down into internal security events. So if you have traffic from a user internally on your network that is suspicious, you can actually use the LogPoint ability to correlate data from Cisco ISE and from other network devices to show you which user generated this traffic, on which network, from which device, accessing which service. So doing this, we correlate data from Cisco ISE with data from your AD and data from your firewall to give you finely grained, detailed overview of what was this traffic, from where was it generated, to where, on which device, by which user. Doesn't get more finely detailed than that. So with LogPoint and Cisco ISE, you can leverage correlation of log data from, as I said, multiple network devices, and this gives you this granular insight into user behavior.
So thanks, Morten, for a very insightful presentation. I think that gave us actually our viewers out there a good overview of how you can work with Cisco, as well as how you can, combine a SIEM platform in your IT infrastructure and get the best of both worlds, really. It also gave us a lot of inspiration in terms of, what types of things that you should really be looking for or taking out from the Cisco environment and being able to view it in a SIEM environment. In many ways, what we've talked about today is obviously just the tip of the iceberg. And if there are any more questions out there, or if there's more interest in terms of what we've talked about today, so that we can go through, our experiences and customer cases, you can either contact myself, Carlyle@logpoint.com. Alternatively, from a partner perspective, you can contact Level 8, at Morten at mfo@level8.dk. You are most welcome to go onto www.logpoint.com to learn more about LogPoint and how we facilitate SIEM as a whole. Or also www.level8.dk. Yep, we will have this recorded, as we said before, and this will be up on our YouTube channel, so you can see more there. Alternatively, have a really good day, and we hope to see you again on the next tutorials that we have. Thanks. Bye.